to life.
He still takes the field? Yep. Love it. Get a good deep breath. Get ready to roll here. Only about one thing tonight, getting the W's, so gotta be around the end to do that. Get ready to roll tonight, boys. Go have some fun.
Don't get me any more fired up than I already am.
All the way to the checkered. You are fine. Nobody's got to run. Checker time, baby! Really proud of you, man. Drove your butt off tonight. We had the best car here, bud. Yeah, boys. Way to rebound. Great job. Great job, bud. Really good job. Appreciate you hanging in there with us all weekend. What a weekend. Good job. Thank you.
And welcome back to Racing in the Draft. My name is Mark. Thanks for showing up on a Independence weekend, Sunday morning, bright and early. Well, not really. It's 11 o'clock in the morning at this point. I've been up for quite a while. But either way, happy birthday, America. 250 years. Man, what a fireworks show last night in D.C. Not so much on the racetrack last night at Chicagoland. Once they finally got it going, like at, I don't know, 10 o'clock at night, and it didn't wrap up until like almost 1 in the morning, or just after midnight. Either way, it was a late night, up early, getting ready for the great Sunday of Independence weekend. I appreciate you tuning in if you are able to. I think we're in store for hopefully a pretty decent race. The O'Reilly race last night started off kind of slow, but then, you know, the strategies kind of came into play. The third segment definitely had some interesting strategy calls. But at the end, I think we saw the best 4 cars really dueling it out with Brandon Jones, Jesse Love, Tyler Gray, and Chase Elliott. The fan favorite Chase Elliott didn't quite get the win done, but he was close. And that track experience will definitely help him out. Daniel, what's up, buddy? Yes, the 4th was great, even though the weather in and around Virginia all day was wild, to say the least. I think Mother Nature had its own intentions of its own set of fireworks throughout the day. I literally was at home, and the thunderstorms, you could hear them. And I looked at the radar, and I'm like, wow, they're really close. They were like 2 miles away from my house. I never got a drop of rain. And like literally less than 5 minutes from my house, got like 2.5 inches of rain and had flash floods, and not a drop in my house. It's so weird. I live in such a little vortex at my house. Storms happen all over and around Richmond, and I don't get an ounce. I just get some wind, and I hear thunder, and occasionally see some lightning. I need rain so bad on my grass right now. It's not even funny. But either way, Daniel says I'm playing one lineup, $4 single entry. Whew. It was 105 down. I think you're down in Alabama. This past week has been, I think, starting Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and yesterday, we had temperatures that reached over 100 all the days. And the feel like on Friday was 121 degrees. Oh, you're in Savannah, Georgia? Awesome. My dad lives just north of you in Charleston. Love that area. Be down there the middle to end of August. Charleston, that is, not Savannah. To visit my dad and take my son to the beach, and we do some beach fishing and stuff like that. So, but awesome. Charleston is very, very cool. But last night until Kyle Sieg, if he had not caused that caution, I was going to finish second in the Chrome Horn again last night, and he ended up getting tangled up. And I mean, he still ended up finishing the race, but I dropped from second to, I think, like 5th, and a couple of my lineups did okay. I ended up breaking even. So it was okay, but I was looking at winning a couple $100 last night. So hopefully we can get that to finish off tonight for the Chicago return to Chicagoland. Um, I'm excited for this track. This track was built for this next gen car. The track surface is aged, but it doesn't look like it's absolutely killing tires, but tires are definitely going to be important. Uh, EERO is going to be another issue with this car. It was not quite as much with the Xfinity car or rally car last night. It you definitely could get caught up in a little bit of wake, but you could also use that. You could also get up behind the guy and get him loose, where this next gen car doesn't do that. Now the bumps in turns 1 and 3 are, for what the drivers say, are for real. They are like literally coming off of a small step. And with this next gen car, once these tires get 20, 25 laps on them and the grip really has gone away, it's when they hit that bump and if their car's not stable at all, this car has such a tendency to just flip around. I mean, we've seen Chase Elliott do it before. We've seen I mean, that was a problem with Chase Elliott and Christopher Bell when they had their huge wreck in Michigan. Chase was just driving along and the car broke loose, and Chase was like, I didn't have any indications it was going to do it till it did it, and it was too late. That the bump in 1, if they don't hit that just right, and they are slightly under braking and or have a little bit of handling issues, that's going to be where we see the issues and accidents. I think with fresh tires and things like that, they'll be able to keep and maintain control. But if we're going to see any calamities, it's going to be over those bumps in turns 1 and 3. But for the most part, I mean, even last night in the rally race, we did not see a whole lot of carnage. It was only really, really late in a run. You'd have a tire carcass that would, tire that would blow out. But we never had any real big issues or accidents until the Cal Sig, which really wasn't that big of an issue. They were both able to continue on. But either way, let's get into this. Let's break it down, because we'll be here forever if I just ramble on like I normally do. Either way, SVG finally got his domination back at Sonoma, and he put on a dominant show. Chase Briscoe and Ty Gibbs definitely wanted to go and play with SVG, but just ran out of laps. And honestly, I mean, I think Briscoe and Gibbs both had good cars, but I think at the end of the day, it would have been extremely difficult to ever get around SVG. He's just that good, and he's that good at blocking. And he has learned, coming over from Australia, New Zealand, and supercars to the way NASCAR runs. He has no problem roughing up people and giving back what has been given to him. So it would have been a tough go for them to actually get around him, but it was good to show that maybe SVG is not that he is human. But I think most of it was kind of the car also. The Chevys are still just lacking a little something when it comes to the Toyotas. They're making progression that's better. The problem is the Fords continue to regress, and they don't seem to be getting much better on any style course. And when we go to practice, it's very obvious that especially the Penske's are really struggling for handling. And Brad Keselowski and his media availability this week was calling for, the Fords really need to start to get together and really start sharing some data so they can make some inroads and make it a much closer for the Fords to be able to go and play with the Toyotas and the Chevys. Right now, they just are missing it. Now, with that being said, I think Penske probably should really try to partner up or really start to share more data, because the RFK drivers are lights out this weekend. They are really, really good. They came to play, and the Penske's not so much. But last week, like I said, SVG led 74 of the 110 laps, got 79 points, which is unreal. I mean, all you need is probably 60 points to make the optimal, and he got that by 19.3. Nobody else got over 60 points for the day. And that was kind of what I thought was going to be what was going to need to happen. And then that 50 points for the more expensive drivers would definitely have gotten it there. But because SVG was so expensive, it was tough for guys like Ty Gibbs, who had 55 points. He was the second highest points getter and didn't make the optimal lineup. Mostly just because of the way the salary works and the points work. Ryan Blaney's on there twice. Oh, well. Something got messed up there. But Ryan Blaney, with 49.6 points, I mean, he started 16th and came in 6th. I mean, Ryan Blaney, if anything, is holding up Penske on the good end. Joey Logano is just out to lunch. Ryan Preece with a really good finish for not being known as a road course guy, coming in at the 8th spot. Alex Bowman, good road course for him, finishing in 10th. Brad Kay from 35th to 15th. So, I mean, we've got Fords that are here, and they're able to make inroads. They're just not able to really crack that top 5 in speed. I mean, Ryan Blaney gets close a lot of days, and we've seen some of the RFK guys get there, but for the most part, nobody's got anything on these Toyotas right now. All right, either way, let's head to Chicagoland. We haven't been there since 2019. This track has sat dormant for 6.5, 7 years. They've cleaned it up. They've got the track surface in great shape, as good as it can be for 26 years old, I think is what the track is at now. And it's never been repaved. A lot of people are saying this is what Atlanta would be like if they had not done a repave. So Atlanta, before it was repaved, was really rough on tires. And pretty much you would go and drive 3-4 laps, and if a caution came out, you came back in and you got 4 fresh Goodyears and went back out. There was not even a question. You didn't even think about it. You just did it. I'm not sure we're seeing that much of the discrepancy in tire fall off. But we'll definitely see some guys that'll probably give it a shot and not get tires and take track position, because I mean, the EERO blocking will definitely come into play today. The leader is going to be King. So we're definitely going to see a battle between Larson and Hamlin to try to get out front and get out front early. It will play a big factor for at least stage 1 points. After that, strategies will start to come into play. And, of course, if there's a caution at any point in time, that will throw strategies into the wind. But we race 267 laps. We've got 80 laps in stage 1, 85 laps in stage 2, which, after the caution laps, it's about 80 laps also. And then stage 3, which will be about 102 laps with the caution break, it'll end up being about 95 laps. So my guess is we'll definitely see them split stage 1. We'll see them split stage 2. They have to on fuel, not just tires, but for fuel reasons also. So we'll definitely see either green flag stops, or if a caution comes out, you'll definitely see tires and fuel for those cautions. So, we'll definitely get some opportunities for the pit road guys to give their drivers some track positions. Like I said, we haven't been here since 2019. Alex Bowman was the last winner. 2018, Kyle Busch put the slide job on Kyle Larson. Martin Truex Jr. back-to-back wins in 16 and 17, and Denny Hamlin has a win here in 2015. So, yeah, the guys that are more experienced and that have been here before might have a little bit of an edge, but these young kids, they've been running these simulators. They won't have any issues, and it does drive a lot like Kansas and Vegas. So the track's not that much of a unique track. The conditions are going to be the uniqueness of it. But either way, like I said, the tracks we're comparing to: Texas, Vegas, Charlotte, Kansas. All of the 1.5-mile tracks all compare to this. This was built at about the same time as Vegas and Kansas. And it was called the cookie cutter track. It was just, use the cookie cutter and plop it down in a metropolitan area and, go race. So it's absolutely the same type of thing. We're going to see the Toyotas be dominant. They've been dominant the 1.5 miles all year so far. The Chevys have made some inroads, and the Ryan Blaney's are kind of helping bring the Fords up a little bit. But our optimal lineups, we don't have any real optimal lineup data since 2019, and I'm not going that far back to look at optimal lineup data because we were the last gen era, different tire packages, speeds were different, all the things were different. In fact, the last time they were here, they didn't even have the choose cone. So when a caution comes out, you're available. You have the ability to choose high side or low side on the restart. That was not something they did back in 2019. That really kind of came into play in 2020, and so a lot has changed in the sports since they've been to Chicago. So that most of that data is, I wouldn't say it's worthless because experience does help, but for the most part, most of that data is not going to be useful. So we pulled the optimal lineups from Texas, Las Vegas, Charlotte, and Kansas. Now the Charlotte race, you have to remember, was 400 laps, so it doesn't quite fully equate like Kansas, Texas, and Vegas. But because it's the 1.5 miles, it is close. You can substitute, and that's not 334 laps. It was 267. My Claude went in and looked at old data, I guess. But either way, these numbers are right because I gave that to it. But as we see, Texas, Denny Hamlin. Vegas, Denny Hamlin. Charlotte, Denny Hamlin. Kansas, Denny Hamlin. I mean, rinse and repeat. Denny Hamlin is absolutely dominant at these 1.5-mile tracks, along with the Toyotas. Christopher Bell, another Toyota there. Let's see, from Kansas, we have Denny, Reddick, Herbst coming in 14th. The one thing I do notice, we do have a front row, Zane Smith, the fan favorite, Todd Gilliland at Kansas. At Vegas, we had Denny, Gibbs, then a couple Chevys, Byron, Chase Elliott, Austin Dillon, Brad Kay, holding the Ford camp up over there. And then at Texas, of course, we had, Hamlin and Bubba Wallace and Riley Herbst. Yeah, does that Riley Herbst twice on these optimal lineups? Here we go. So maybe Riley Herbst is somebody to kind of keep an eye on. I think his practice speeds were actually in a fairly good spot. But either way, for the high end drivers, this really should have highlighted Ryan Blaney as being the least expensive, the most expensive. The $9,500 and up is kind of the threshold I look at for high value drivers and where their points end up falling. And it's about 61 points. You can see that here. You can see that with Chase Elliott at $9,000, not quite the 95, but still in that $9,000 range, getting to 60 points. So 60 points really is kind of the threshold that we need to find for the more expensive drivers when we go through the Draftkings calculator that I've got on my website, which is available for everyone. Make sure you check that out. We'll be using that throughout today's show, and we'll put everybody in, and we'll see what the calculator looks like at the end, and then you can also use the optimizer to optimize the lineups and import them, if you like, straight into Draftkings. I am using that on about 20 to 40 of my lineups, but I'm still hand building 40. I just still like the hand build. So it's there for you to use. It's free still currently. Have not put a time frame on when that may potentially go behind a paywall, or if it ever does. It all depends. If I keep winning in DraftKings, I can keep affording to pay the bill on the AI side of things, which operates and maintains all of that. So if that ends up happening, I guess I'll just keep paying for it myself. It's not really that expensive. And it helps me out with building all of these PowerPoints and websites and everything else. So, but for Kansas, 57, for Reddick at 9,500, and then Christopher Bell at 8780. Sorry, my phone keeps vibrating. Put that on the ground. So yeah, at 60 points or higher, should get us there for the $9,000 and up. From about, at $6,500 to $7,000 and up, we're looking probably around that 45, 50, probably 50 point range. And then anything kind of under that $6,500, we can probably look at about 40, 45 points, but we get them in there. What I am noticing a lot is we're having 2 to 3 value drivers for most of these races, as you can see. So, we're seeing 2 of the high end drivers, 2 of the mid pack drivers, and then 2 cheap drivers is kind of where everything's seeming to fall. So the build is really, 1 to 2 dominators. If you're at 1 dominator, you're looking at 2 guys that are going to start up front and finish up front, or even be, like a Ryan Blaney, starting 31st and up finishing in 10th. Top 10s is really what we're looking for our high price drivers, and, our less expensive value drivers, top 20, top 15, as long as they've got some PD upside, then those end up flying also. But realistically, we're looking at, 2 of the higher end, probably chalky drivers, 2 middle tier, and then 2 of our less expensive $7,400 or less type drivers. So that's the typical build, and that's kind of where it kind of falls in with most of these mile-and-a-half tracks. Once again, it's kind of like a cookie cutter. It's just rinse and repeat. You just got to figure out which driver's going to end up doing what you need to do to take down one of these tournaments. But I definitely like building the mile-and-a-halfs. Like I said, if we do them enough, we should get pretty proficient at it, and I typically have decent luck at it. Not as much luck as I have on the super speedways, but either way. Denny Hamlin is our first driver on the board, $11,000 in Draftkings. We'll go through in a little bit more detail with Denny Hamlin, and then we'll kind of go through the highlights with the other drivers, so that way we're not here till, green flag, 5.5, 6 hours from now. I know my podcasts are long. I know I go through a lot of explanation, but I try to make sure I give as much detail and possibilities out there as possible so you can build the correct lineups. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Let's get into Denny Hamlin. $11,000 starting in the first position. Practice speeds were 9th in single lap, 6th in 5-lap consecutive average, or it's supposed to be 10-lap. Yeah, I screwed that up from last week. I'm not going to fix every one of them, but I even told that it was 10 laps this week. The reason it was 5 laps the last couple of weeks was because of road courses, and they didn't ever get, not many drivers got to a 10-lap consecutive average. So ignore that mess up from the AI. Since we haven't been here in forever, we're looking back at the most liked tracks, which is Texas, Kansas, Vegas, Charlotte, and Darlington. I always do 5. Darlington is probably the next closest. It's 1.33 miles in length. It has a really worn out surface. It eats up tires. Handling is extremely important. They can also rip the fence, which means they can run right up next to that wall, which we will see happen here at Chicago. Very similar to what they do at Kansas. Kansas is probably the most the best comparison track we go to. Tire wear, speed, the way that the track lays out, Kansas is very, very, very similar. Behind that would be Vegas, then Charlotte, then Texas, because Texas has got 2 different banked. The banking in turn 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 are different, so that one makes it a little bit more unique. And then Darlington, because same amount of laps, high tire wear, speeds are very similar. Strategy calls will come into play for all that. So that's why these 5 tracks are listed here. And in those 5 races so far this year, Denny Hamlin, I mean, he did make the optimal lineup for the 4 optimal lineups that we looked at, does have 1 win, 4 top 5s, 4 top 10s, 5 top 20s, 73.6 DraftKings average. Average 73.6. I mean, he did make all 4 of the optimal lineups. Makes sense. If we need to get to 60 points, he's well above it. And he's got a 4.2 average running position. He's just really good at these 1.5-mile tracks. He's really good with high tire wear management. His crew is extremely good with strategies. And that just puts him straight to the top of the heap. I have no problem thinking that Denny Hamlin doesn't just do what Denny Hamlin does, and he'll lead a fair amount of laps. He'll end up being in the top 5. I have no problem with thinking that Denny Hamlin just continues doing what Denny Hamlin has done so far this year and run really, really well. And he's one of the drivers. There are over half of the field has never raced at Chicagoland before. So some of them got a little experience yesterday in the O'Reilly race, but over half the field has never raced at Chicagoland. Not, like I said, it's not that much of a difference. You take away the skyline and the location, and this track is the same as Kansas, Vegas, and the rest of them. So, but Denny Hamlin did finish 15th at Chicagoland the last time we ran here. 14 total starts before they, I guess, temporarily closed it. I hope they keep this on the circuit, but at the points, it's uncertain at this point. And the problem is, ticket sales do not look like it's going to end up being very good. I think part of that is the weekend that it falls on. There's lots of people traveling. Ticket sales at Chicagoland were always a little bit hit or miss, and that's kind of why it ended up falling off the schedule. I'm glad they returned. I hope they're able to fit it back in for 1 race a year and try to get some momentum. At least give it a 3-year shot. I don't think 4th of July weekend is the right weekend for it. I was listening to one of the podcasters last night talk about the race and all that and the weekend, and I absolutely have to agree with Jared that he lives in the Chicago area or grew up in the Chicago area. And he's like, it's not a good fit. There's too many other things to do. And probably one of the best places that they went, other than being at Daytona, was Road America. And Road America put on a great show. And they'd have 150, 200,000 people show up for that road course. They would spread out. They would camp all weekend. Huge fireworks show. And Road America put on a great show. I think Road America actually put on a better show than what we saw at Sonoma last week. I know Sonoma's been around and it's classic. It's been on the circuit forever. But the racing, unfortunately, just isn't that great at Sonoma. I don't know if it's the new track pavement they put down or what, but Sonoma has disappointed the last few years. Now, San Diego, home run. Absolutely. That was phenomenal. That was great. The racing was phenomenal. The fans were packed it in, but it's literally in the middle of everything Southern California. Right on Naval Base, there's 35,000 people that call the Naval Base home. So you have a built-in huge crowd already. And San Diego's a couple million people. So, real easy to pack that place in where, unfortunately, Sonoma, it's wine country. It's out in the middle of nowhere. A little harder to get to. And the racing just really isn't that great. But either way, back to Denny Hamlin. Like I said, I go off on these little tangents. Denny Hamlin, I said, 14 total starts, 1 win here at Chicago, 3 top 5s, 7 top 10s, 11 top 20s, an average finish of 14.5. A long time ago, but I always like to to bring in the historical facts. All right, we had a huge, long practice session. We had upwards of 3 sets of tires for these guys to use during practice. So we have practice speeds all over the place and all over the board. But, we can see some indications on kind of what to expect from tire wear. You can easily look, we're looking at Denny Hamlin, who was the yellowish gold. And, you can kind of see where he first comes out. He's okay. You could tell where he comes in and gets new tires, because all of a sudden his speeds drop way back down. I mean, he drops all the way down to 30.47 for a lap time, and the tires do fall off. And let's see, what is that? Lap 20 to lap 26. Almost a 1.3 second fall off. So, in 8 to 10 laps, they're falling off almost a full second. Daniel says, these are the days when I pick Denny and something happens. Cut feeling to fade him in the single entry and grab Reddick. Yeah. I don't think I see what you're saying. And at some point the great shows also the great showings at these 1.5-mile tracks that Denny is on has to fall off at some point. I like the Larson call, but I'm also a huge Larson fan, so I try not to put too much bias on that, but Larson's speeds were really good. So we also have to remember we had a tire test here. I can't remember, a couple weeks or months ago. Denny talked about it on his podcast. And if I remember correctly, it was Ryan Blaney did the tire test, Kyle Larson did the tire test, and Denny Hamlin did the tire test. The Fords are struggling, and that's not a Ryan Blaney thing. I expect Ryan Blaney to be able to muster up probably a good solid top 10. Honestly, this race is a toss-up between Larson and Hamlin. Larson is super hungry for a win. He is super tired of hearing everybody go, when are you going to win again? And Larson has been a top 5 machine this year, and that's what's kept him close in the points. Is he literally just puts and continues to put top 5s together week after week after week. He's just not getting the win. They're just not quite fast enough, but he's good enough, and Cliff Daniels' strategy is good enough for Kyle to continue to get top 5s, which has kept him in the top 5 in points. But they are both super tired of hearing, when are you going to win again? But, same thing. Look at Kyle Larson's speeds when we talk about tire wear. I mean, his first run, 30.6, 30.43, and all the way up to 31.57 in 10 laps. So almost a full second fall off again there. On this run over here, he goes from a 30.3, and then let's see, it's lap 29, and by lap 42, so 13 laps, he's fallen off again by almost a full second. So 10 laps and they're falling off by a full second. The thing is, we still have not seen, we haven't seen a 30, 35, 40 lap run. And what do those tires end up looking like? That's going to be the interesting part. I mean, these guys, the track will rubber in, so the tire wear will become not as aggressive. But anytime that there's a clean track, that first run till they put that rubber down, it's going to be a pretty high tire wear. And if we have any type of rain during or in the middle of this race, it'll just clean the track off again, and they'll start back from scratch. But I don't think they're really calling for any rain after we get this thing going at about 6:30 tonight. They are calling for some spotty showers throughout the afternoon, which could delay the start by a little bit like it did yesterday for the O'Reilly race, but not expecting a whole lot. Looks like, and by the time this thing is getting to its conclusion, it's going to be a beautiful 67 degrees at Chicago. So, yeah, the weather looks decent today, much better than it did yesterday for racing. But yes, Tyler Reddick next in line here, 10,700. Oh, let's put Denny on the calculator. All right, so if you're from just joining and you're just looking at this calculator, you can find it at racinginthedraft.com. Go over here to the calculator portion. Once again, I cannot emphasize enough. If you start to fill out all this information and you get all the way through and you close the page or you leave, if you go from calculator to home and back to calculator, it's gone. It erases it. Just be very careful and do not leave, because it potentially is a lot of work to put all this information in, and then it just is gone if you happen to leave. Once you finish and you get everything done, there is a way to export to Excel CSV file. So once you get done, hit that first, because then you always will have what you put into here. Now it won't save for the optimizer. You'll have to go to the optimizer and then download this CSV file once you do the optimizer stuff in there. But either way, make sure you don't leave. All right. So we've got all of our information here about Denny Hamlin on the calculator. We've got the same track type, which is the last 5 races I just talked about: the Texas, Charlotte, Kansas, Vegas, Darlington is here. The last trend does have some of those tracks in it, but it also has Pocono. It does not have the road courses. So it's got Pocono, it's got Nashville, it's got Michigan, and the last trend line. So it's the last 5 oval starts is here. So we've got how many top 5s they had, top 10s, top 20s, their Draftkings average, their average running positions for both of those, best finish, worst finish, the average laps led, and the average fast laps. So that gives you an opportunity to figure out what you want to do kind of in this area, and depending on where they're starting, how many fast laps. Because what this will do is we'll calculate the score. So Denny Hamlin starting from the pole, if you're putting the story together in your head and you're building your lineups, you go, okay, I think Denny Hamlin's going to lead a decent chunk of the first stage, or I think Denny Hamlin's going to stay close to the front and lead a bunch of laps. Then you decide how many laps he's going to lead. If you think he's going to fade, you think he's going to have an issue, but maybe he does lead the first stage, like I said, which is close to 80 laps. He'll make a pit stop in there. The question is, can Denny hold on to the lead and continue to lead out front, or does somebody jump him? And then you go, okay, where's his finishing position going to be at the end of this race? If you think he's going to end up having troubles and struggles, then you just take that up to however much of a trouble you think he's going to be. Or if you think he's going to finish, top 3, you can go with 3rd, 2nd, or 1st. It just continues to change the calculator on here. So, starting from the pole, we think he's going to lead a decent chunk of the first half of the first stage, probably. He gets a jump on Larson and gets out front, then you go with like 39 laps. And the fast laps, I usually go 2 for 1 for laps led to fast laps. So we'll back that down to, 20. So, and I'm being a little conservative. I think Denny Hamlin actually does better than this, but I want to be a little bit conservative on the projection, and I'm still going to leave him in a top 3. That's going to give me 57.8 points. Well, we kind of need to get to 60. Now, I also always want to look at who are going to be my top 15 drivers, and that's who becomes my core base of drivers when I build for the large field tournaments, the 20 maxes, the 150 maxes, and those types of things. I'm looking for who are my top 15 drivers. So not necessarily. Now, my top 15 will also play into a cash lineup or a low entry like single entry lineup where, you're only going up against, a couple hundred people instead of a couple thousand people or a couple thousand lineups. So that's when the variance becomes much larger and you have to start changing things up a little bit. Cash lineups, much more chalky, and you're not really trying to find that sleeper. A sleeper does help, but it's a little bit harder to find the sleeper compared to the chalk. So this doesn't quite put Denny Hamlin to that 60-point range. But if you think he's going to win the race, it does. So it all depends on how you want to build the story out. So I'm gonna leave him at a 57.8, even though I think he actually ends up being a little bit better than that. So then you come over, you lock the score, and it says score locked, click the update. So if you want to change your mind, you can, and then you just, so let's say you move him to 40 and takes it to 58, you can click again, and it's going to lock it in. And then what you can do is once you get some of this filled out, you can go over and look at your ranking. And it has, the 58 points here. Now, once we get this filled out, it'll have more drivers and it'll list it from highest to lowest. And then on the optimizer, it will also show so this projection will change based on what you do. You can just go off the projection of what the AI thinks it's going to do. And that's just taking in the previous races and the averages and the starting positions. And so it does lock in a projection already. Like you can see Tyler Reddick over here, for the calculator, has got a 72.2 because he's starting in 13th, projected to finish 5th because of his averages. And then it takes his average laps led and fast laps and already puts that in. It doesn't lock it, but that's what on averages it's got. So it actually already has that over here on the optimizer, and it has him as the number one driver. So you can do that, and you could literally just come in here and just lock it and not even mess with this if you want. But if you're building the story out and I don't think it's really realistic to lead 41 laps and have 33 fast laps. It just doesn't typically equate, especially starting 13th. It's a little, he can go lead laps. I'm not really that worried about it, and I think he does end up getting to the front for at least a small portion of the race. Now, Reddick has not been the Reddick that we had the first 8 weeks of the year. They've kind of regressed to the mean, and are having they weren't going to stay on top of the world forever. So I'm going to back him down to 20 laps led, 10 fast laps. And I think he kind of ends up with that top 5, maybe finishing in second. We had Denny finishing in third, so I don't want to you can put 2 drivers finishing in third. It's not going to happen, but when you're doing your projections, you can do that. So we'll put Tyler Reddick finishing in 4th and kind of lock it in. I think he does end up getting up there and potentially leading a few laps. I think that the laps led are going to get spread out because of the high tire wear and the strategies that are going to get played. The cream is still going to rise to the top by the end of this thing, which are going to be the Toyotas, the Larsons, the Chase Elliott's, Brian Blaney's, or unless they have mechanical issues or have a wreck or a flat and have damage, those are the guys that are going to end up being up there. It's a cookie cutter track for a reason. But when we look at Tyler Reddick, he's starting in 13th. He has never run here at Chicagoland, at least in the Cup Series. He finished third. He's starting in 13th. He was 6th in third in practice. He did 52 laps of practice. And the 5 races we're comparing to, he's got 2 wins, 4 top 5s, 4 top 10s, 5 top 20s, a 4.6 average running position. Not quite as high of a Draftkings average as Denny Hamlin, but really darn close, 64.2. And like I said, he's raced a Cup Series race here, so no information there. And if we look at his practice speeds, he is the gold. Bubba Wallace was the fastest single lap. I think actually Tyler Reddick or Riley Herbst had one single lap that was fastest, and I just didn't like the rest of his data, so I said go with Bubba Wallace. So I understand. I know Bubba Wallace was second fastest and Riley Herbst was first, but once again, all Toyos, all 2311, top of the board for practice. Now, long run speed, they fell off like everybody else. And it gets a little convoluted. This is definitely a little bit of a spaghetti, and you kind of have to spend a little bit of time really digging through and seeing. My colorblindness definitely kind of screws with what I see too, but I can see these colors fairly well. Tyler Reddick's speed, in my opinion, is good. I think it's enough to easily get him into a top 5, but there's a little bit of a, I don't know. I'm kind of looking at this a little bit more. This first time I've really studied the practice speeds. Its fall off is a little bit more level, and what I'm looking for is you kind of see how Bubba Wallace has these big jumps in speed, where Tyler Reddick kind of has this nice even progression to a slower side, and the same thing with Kyle Larson. It's a little more jagged than I like. That's not a full indication, but that is a slight indication on the handling characteristics of the car. If the car is really planted, handling really well, you're going to see a much more flat line as they go up. Mishandling cars that are struggling through the bumps and those types of things are going to be a little bit more jagged. Neither one of Bubba Wallace, Kyle Larson, or Tyler Reddick really concerned me, but that is one thing that stands out just looking at it really quickly is this last run that Tyler Reddick had has a really nice, even upward trajectory. So I do like that. Like I said, I've already told myself that I think he ends up with a top 5 finish. I think he ends up leading some laps. It could even be a few more laps led, but 58.5 is probably enough. I'll lock that in. And then you can see over here in the rankings, Tyler Reddick's top of the board, Denny Hamlin second. And then the optimizer did end up changing over here. So we go back to the calculator. Kyle Larson's next in line here. Let's go look at his stats. Kyle Larson, 10,500, starting in the second position. Remember, Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson both did the tire test here. Kyle Larson has already said that he feels really, really comfortable with this track, really likes it. The 2017 or 18 where Kyle Busch ended up doing the slide job? Well, it was Kyle Larson that did a slide job on Kyle Busch first, and Kyle Busch returned the favor to Kyle Larson and pretty much put Kyle Larson into the wall. So taught the young money exactly what was going to happen as he progressed through his Cup progression. But yeah, Kyle Larson's always been really good here. He loves to rip the fence. So does Tyler Reddick. The high side is going to end up coming into play. It's going to be one of the faster spots to get around this track. Denny Hamlin's pretty much good at all spots on the track, where Reddick and Larson just love to rip the fences. What that means is you take the high side and you run 6 inches off the wall at 140, 150, 160 miles an hour. And you would think the fastest way around is on the bottom side, but the tire wear down there is much more aggressive than at the top of the track. Plus, the speed coming off of the corner, because the radius gets changed when you run the top, you end up having much more higher straightaway speed by running the top than the bottom. Bottom is the shortest way around. The top sometimes is the fastest. All depends on what the rubber looks like, how many marbles. A lot of things come into play there. Now, for the 5 races we're comparing to, of course, we've just talked about it. Kyle Larson's really desperate to look for a win here. Not desperate, but he's just tired of hearing everybody say, "When are you going to win again?" But Mr. Consistent, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 3 top 20s, 16.0 average running position, a 32.9 Draftkings average. He did finish second in 2019 here at Chicagoland, so he does have a little bit of experience here. 6 total races, actually, with 4 top 5s, 5 top 10s, and all 6 of his races finished in the top 20 with a 6.2 average running position. Family man, what's going on? Larson's your pick to win. Finally. Let's go, Larson. It's a little cleaner on this one because we don't have another driver that we're comparing to. It's just literally Kyle Larson, Bubba Wallace's, and the white line is the average. So everybody's, the average, and because everybody changed and got new tires at different times, this average line really does not give a whole lot of tire discrepancy. In looking back now that there's just these 2 lines, the red and the blue, Bubba Wallace's line here is much better than what I'm seeing over here. So I like his second run on tires looks much better than his first or his third. Kyle Larson's just kind of always a little jagged, but Kyle's always kind of searching. So I'm not overly concerned with either Bubba Wallace or Kyle Larson when it comes to what we're seeing in their speed for practices. So let's go back to the calculator. Kyle Larson. And yes, once again, I am a Kyle Larson fan. I'm taking him to win the race. So my storyline is he's going to win the race. I think he leads, we'll say 30 laps and has 15 fast laps. And I'm going to lock him in. That's me. You can say it's a bias. I can also say it's statistically a possibility. And I'm building the storyline. And it's my video. So you can go build your own calculator. It's free. I gave it to you for free. You go do it. So once again, you can look at the rankings. It changes each time. The optimizer changes each time. Put your highest projected person at the top. And then we'll look at the max and the minis and the lock them in and excluding. And if you can find ownership, you can put ownership out here. I'm working on getting a system that I'm hoping can import that in, but that's a little trickier. So, either way, all right. So we're locked in for the first 3. We now have Ryan Blaney, who also did the tire test here. He was the Ford driver for the tire test. 10,200 starting in 14th. He was 22nd in single lap speed. He did do 50 laps of practice, and he was 11th in 5 lap consecutive average. The other Penske drivers, Austin Cindric actually looked the fastest in practice for Fords and Penske. Blaney was probably the most consistent. Joey Logano was really concerning with looking at his speed. And so far this year, his 1.5 mile track program has really struggled. Ryan Blaney's always been good. And for the first, third to half of the year, his pit crew is screwing him up every time. But he does have some experience here at Chicagoland. 4 total races, all 4 in the top 20. He's finished 6th the last time they ran here, but the 4 races we're comparing to, like I said, Penske and the Fords have struggled. Only 1 top 5, 3 top 10s, 4 top 20s, the 12.0 average running position, and 34.6 DraftKings average. Starting 14th, I think he moves the field. I think there is an opportunity for him to potentially even get a win. Like I said, he did do the tire test here. He's got some experience here. He's really good at saving his equipment, meaning tires, fuel, all those types of things. And all those things could come into play. So I like the Ryan Blaney play. Now, the problem is you can't play Larson, Reddick, and Blaney. It just, you end up pricing yourself out of being able to set up a lineup, or at least one that's reasonable, unless you want to take JJ Yaley, which I don't. But, kind of digging through and looking at this, and this is what I'm saying about the Fords, they very jagged times. And they talked about this. Blaney talked about it in his interview. Joe Logano talked about it in his interview. They really struggled with the bumps in turns 1 and 3. Blaney's car got a little bit better towards the end, but I'm not told by any means that the Penske is going to end up having a good day. If anything, I'm probably a slight fade on Ryan Blaney. I'm going to have him in some of my lineups, but I easily see the argument on fading Blaney out a little bit. Starting in 14th, I mean, the AI has him projected as a 12th place finish, which, is kind of the average. Honestly, I think that's probably about right. I think if he ends up leading any laps, it's going to be on strategy where he either stays out long, and gets a couple laps led. But, I'm going to kind of put it at 4 and 2. And I think he ends up trying to get to a top 10. So I'm going to give him the top 10. But that's about where I'm going to fall for Ryan Blaney. That this does not mean any indication, this is my story once again. This is what I'm building in my head for how I think the race is going to go. And you can go build your own story. Feel free to use the information here if you want. It's free to use. But I could easily see him, getting a 6th place finish, which would take him to a 47.9. It does not really put him close to the optimal line. That's kind of more of what I'm getting at. For him to get to the optimal line, even finishing in first, if he only leads 4 laps towards the end, it probably puts him close. But I mean, that's a tough one. So we'll give him a 9th place finish. He'll lead 4 laps and have 2 fast laps. Lock that in. You can see the rankings change. So does the optimizer. And now we go to Christopher Bell. Finally, Christopher Bell doesn't need to turn right and left, and he can just leave his poor wrist in one spot, and just hope that Chase Elliott doesn't wreck Christopher Bell again. He is starting in the 6th position. He's $10,000. His practice was 17th in single lap and 17th in 5-lap consecutive average. He has not run a cup race here before. I'm not worried about that at all because I would say he's pretty consistent. He's pretty consistent until he either gets wrecked or wrecks at these 1.5-mile tracks. It's been a little bit on the tough end for Christopher Bell. He's had speed. He's led laps, I think, pretty much at almost all these tracks, and has just had issues. Question is, can he not have an issue this week? Flip a coin. That part we just don't know. And you never know when a tire's going to blow on you. A Chase Elliott's going to just lose it in a corner and wreck you, or whatnot. But looking at his practice speeds, they're not as good as Denny's, Larson's, Reddick's. They're actually not even as good as what I consider to be Ryan Blaney's speed. Is that an issue with his hand? Is that an issue with his handling? I'm not real sure. He does end up with a decent lap towards the end, but it's still 17th fastest or slowest. So starting in 6th, unless you think he's going to have one of those, what's up, Lost Profit? Welcome. Happy 4th of July weekend, sir. Happy Independence Day or Independence Weekend. And make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button. I would appreciate that. And make sure you join the Discord. Make sure you go look at Draftkings.com. Lots of great information there. All right, so Christopher Bell. Do you think his luck turns around? Does he end up having a good day, or does he end up having a struggle? Does his wrist end up bothering him? I don't think the wrist is going to be an issue in this race. Not a whole lot of shifting other than when you come into pits, and that's not going to be an issue or problem either. So I'm not worried about the Christopher Bell play today, other than does his luck turn around? And that's that's going to be the tough call. This is really the first one I go, I really don't know where to project him. The averages project him at 17th. Well, that's been a lot of bad luck. And that bad luck always tended to happen when he was running in the top 5. The problem is his practice speeds weren't necessarily fully where I would like to see them. So I'm going to leave him kind of finishing where he starts. And maybe he gets out and leads 8 laps, 4 fast laps. It could easily be much better than this, but I'm not sold that the bad luck is gone. When the bad luck wasn't there, he was running well until the bad luck hit. So I will have some ownership in Christopher Bell. I'll probably be even with the field. I think he probably ends up having about a 15% ownership stake. And that's probably where I'm going to end up falling with Bell. So I've locked him in. Yeah, that's the other thing is if you do this and you just go to the next one, you go back, it changes. So you have to hit the lock score before you leave the driver's page. So that's another thing to remind you of. So Chase Briscoe, next in line here, 9,900. Once again, another driver who's never run a cup race here. Like I said, over half the field is in that boat. But don't worry, they've raced plenty of sim time, and this track is super comparable to a lot of other racetracks. So no worries there. It's not like we're going to San Diego racing on a brand new track surface and brand new turns. Chase Briscoe, 9,900, starting in the 7th position. His practice speeds were 14th and 13th. And the 5 racers are comparing to no wins, 1 top 5, 2 top 10s, 3 top 20s. He's kind of in the same boat as Bell, other than Briscoe some of these tracks just didn't have the speed. Or he'd have bad pit stops, or he'd have a mechanical issue going on. So similar luck, just different kind of luck. And it just wasn't, neither luck was good for Briscoe or Bell at these 1.5 miles. Briscoe has been much, much better and faster as of late. Heck, he almost won the race at Sonoma last week, coming in 2nd. If we look at his practice speeds, he's the one in gold here. Pretty kind of just normal for the first run. Comes in, 2nd run, a little spiky, not too bad. The 3rd run's a little bit better. There's a couple of spikes in there, but a little bit better. Still not as good as where Tyler Reddick was. So starting in the 7th position, he's kind of like, I feel about the same with Briscoe as I do Bell. So if I'm on the fence, let's say I'm running 2 different lineups, and I want to put Bell or Briscoe in one of them. I'm going to put Bell in one, I'll put Briscoe in the other, and then switch it up. They're pretty interchangeable. I'm not sure I'll have much of any lineups that have both, but I don't mind running a lineup with one or the other. Like taking if your storyline is Denny Hamlin's going to win the race, but I'm also want to take a guy that's going to start towards the top 10 and finish in the top 10. A Bell or a Briscoe are easily one of those guys that you can interchange with. And then you start to go looking for some place differential down below. And that's why I think his ownership, at least the ownership that I'm going to have with some of these guys, it's going to be a little bit on the lower end. But I think I'm probably going to fall in that 15% range for him. Of course, he's starting in 7th. The averages for his finish is 16th. Yeah, I think he gets a little better than that. Now, I think his laps led and things like that will kind of falter off a little bit. This track's very similar to a Darlington. And Chase Briscoe is really good at Darlington and those types of tracks. So I could see a play either way. I'm still going to fall probably in the same boat of about 15% ownership for me. And then, you know, maybe he finishes where he starts in 8th. And let's say he does have a 6-3. So, or I think we'll just finish him where he starts. Put him at 39.9. Puts him 0.1 higher than Christopher Bell. Once again, the ranking systems are locked in over there. And we'll move on to William Byron. I mean, we could sit here and say that he's had a bad year. He's solidly in the chase at this point. He's been fairly consistent at just finishing in the top 10. But that's about where he plateaus. He's almost where Chase Elliott was last year. It was like Mr. Consistent top 10, week in, week out, just put it in. Top 10, William Byron. Because, I mean, if we look at the 5 races we're comparing to, 1 top 5, 5 top 10s. A 50.1 DraftKings average. I mean, solid DraftKings average, a 7.0 average running position. He's starting in 10th. The practice speeds were 16th and 7th in the 10-lap consecutive average. He finished 8th in this race in 2019, and an average finish of 14th. So, yeah, I mean, Mr. Consistent of going just and being in the top 10, does it get any better? Maybe. I mean, I do like his practice time. So if you can follow the little gold thing, I mean, there's not a whole lot of jaggedness here. Comes in for a pit stop, of course, has speed again, and it's pretty consistent and pretty fluid throughout. Yeah, the third run's not quite as good as Tyler Reddick's, but it's not bad. This track is going to end up being. I think the racing is going to be good. I don't think we're going to be surprised by a whole lot, at least for the cream of the crop. It's either one of them are going to take the other one out on a slab job. One of them's going to end up bending a toe link because they overdrove a corner and hit the wall on exit. And that puts them, 2 or 3 laps down. Or you have the Bubba Wallace deal where you have a tire that comes off, goes a couple laps down. That's what's going to happen in this grouping up here from 9,000 and up. Is this track's not going to be a big surprise. It's not going to be like Atlanta next week. It's not going to be, it's going to be very cookie cutter, to be perfectly honest. I mean, it's going to be cookie cutter. I mean, that's William Byron projected as 7th because that's where the averages are. He just is Mr. Consistent, top 10, but not quite to the top 5. So I'm going to leave him there. I'm going to bring his fast laps down to 2. I'll leave him with laps led at 5, and I'm going to lock it in. It's, once again, I think the Bell, Briscoe, Byron play, and probably even the Elliott and Gibbs, I think it's, if you think one of them are going to win and be more of the dominant, and I'm not sure we have a full-on dominant. I mean, Denny Hamlin or Kyle Larson probably stand the best chance because of their starting position, and they're both really good at this style track. But if you're looking to differentiate and you don't want to play a Denny and you don't want to play a Kyle, which I'm absolutely fine with because I don't love taking guys that are starting on the front row, even though they end up doing fairly well. You can easily, play a Denny with a Byron, play a Larson with a Byron. And once again, I think that's the interchangeable piece is, if you're going to run 5 lineups, let's say all with Denny being the dominant driver, and you want somebody else that's starting in the top 10, well, I'm going to take those 5 lineups and I'm going to run probably one with a Bell, one with a Briscoe, one with a Byron, one with an Elliott, and then move on from there and go find, maybe a Carson Hocevar that's going to end up starting 15th and end up getting to a fourth place finish or something. So it's not a super dominate or a super place differential move, but it's more of a slight place differential with a good finish. Then I'm going to look for, the chalk is going to be probably Michael McDowell. And he's going to end up being chalky, but I don't really love the call because he was decent in practice. But how many times have we seen taking the guy that's starting last in the field just not ever pan out? So buyer beware by going and just putting Michael McDowell as your chalk. I'm not saying he can't be a great place differential, but all it takes is because he's going to have to start last. He's going to have to do a drive-through penalty, which is going to put him a lap down. It's going to take him off strategy, and he's going to be fighting an uphill battle the entire race. Not saying he can't go and get a 17th place finish, and starting 38th, that's going to be probably enough at his price tag, but we'll get to him in just a moment. So I'd locked William Byron in. 42.2, scores locked in. Chase Elliott next in line here. I mean, it's kind of a broken record here. Chase Elliott, $9,500, starting in ninth. The nice thing is Chase Elliott got a lot of good practice laps last night. Not practice laps. I mean, he was racing, but he got a really good feel for what the track's doing and how it's going to continue to change throughout the race. Now, the next-gen car does not handle like the O'Reilly car, but there are some things that will make Chase Elliott somewhat aware. Now, Texas has got a little bit of an old, worn-out surface. So does Darlington. I mean, these are very, very similar style tracks. And, Chase Elliott won at Texas. He's got the practice from last night. I could see giving Chase Elliott a slight advantage for that. He's got one win in these 5 races, 2 top 5s, 4 top 20s, a 12.6 average running position. He did finish 11th in this race in 2019. 4 total starts, never had a win. Twice in the top 5, 4 times in the top 20, so pretty consistently finishing in the top 20 with an 8.8 average finish. Look at his practice speeds. This is what I'm talking about really, really just jagged. It's okay through here, then it just goes haywire. A little bit okay, then it goes haywire. A little bit okay. That, in my opinion, he's fine when he's got really good rubber, and then once the handling goes away, it really gets sloppy. And I don't love that. Not that can't be adjusted or be changed, but it's just something to be aware of. I'm still going to put him in the same boat as I do with Bell, Briscoe, Byron, and Elliott. It's, he gets a 6th place finish. He leads, maybe a couple laps, and has, a few fast laps. Any of this could easily be adjusted or changed, but I think it's just we're taking. Build out your story, build out your thought process, and just interchange these guys where you need to. Now, I'm not saying that Denny Hamlin or Kyle Larson need to be the guy in your story that ends up winning and being the dominant, but that's my story. I mean, Ty Gibbs, next in line here, had a really good run last week. I tell you what, he has quietly been one of the most consistent drivers in the field this year. He's consistently almost finishing in the top 5, or running in the top 5. He's always seems to be there. Not super splashy about anything. Just goes and gets solid finishes done, and that's why he's second in points. He's third in points. Third or fourth in points. I mean, he's just super consistent so far. And his practice speeds were decent. I mean, he's starting in 5th. Practice speeds were 3rd on the single run, 25th in the 10 lap run. That's not great. When we look at the 5 race we're comparing to, he's only got 1 top 5, but 4 top 10s. I mean, put him right there with William Byron just being consistent of getting top 10s. 12.4 average running position. He has not run a cup race here. God, did he even run a O'Reilly race here? I don't know if he was that, if he's been around long enough to do that. Now this is where, once again, I have not gone through and examined all of these practice laps, and just pulling this up, I go, oh, I see some concern here. And this is what I'm looking for. Is I'm looking for, now this first spike, okay, we're on our 1st or 2nd lap, brand new track, never been here, gotcha. But when you start to continue to do this, and we're not seeing what everybody else that's fast looks like, that's concerning. So probably so far, out of all of the guys that are starting kind of up towards that are starting in the top 10, those practice speeds have me the most concerned of anybody. Ryan Blaney probably behind it, but Brian Blaney starting in 14th. When you have a 12th place average finish for all the data that is in here, I don't know if he's going to end up leading any laps. I'll give him 1 that he gets out of strategy. And, maybe he ends up having a fast lap. I'm not sold on the Ty Gibbs train at all. I'm probably mostly a fade, especially starting in the 5th position. I don't know. Just gut feeling. I mean, the 12th place finish is for real because that's the average. But I'm not going to improve it any. I don't see anything in the data that makes me go, oh, I see. It's like Tyler Reddick starting in 13th. Well, at least I can go back and look at his practice laps and go, oh, his 3rd run, super consistent, nice even flow, no real mistakes, and being real consistent. Where Ty Gibbs, this looks like Carl Larson, or not. This looks like Carson Hocevar type of practice laps. I haven't looked at Carson Hocevar, but typically Carson Hocevar is all over the board. He is next in line here. So, did I lock in Ty Gibbs? Scores locked. Yep, Carson Hocevar next in line here. All right. If you're new here, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. I appreciate you tuning in. 37 viewers currently. Wow. Thank you everyone for tuning in on a Sunday afternoon. We are now in the afternoon. This is probably the longest form Draftkings NASCAR show out there. I take a lot of time. I go through each driver all the way from top to bottom. I really need to somehow make them shorter, but I just don't know how, because every time I get into a driver, I go into a lot of detail. It is what it is. The way my show runs, if you like it, cool. If you don't, it's okay. You're not going to hurt my feelings. It's not like I get paid to do this. So I appreciate everyone tuning in. It does make it more exciting. There is a Discord down below that you can join in. There's, I don't know, probably 15, 20 of us in there at this point. Would love to have some more conversations over there, but also hit me up in the chat. Would love to see what you have to say about anything, and who do you think is going to end up winning? I could always do a little bit better. Everybody's always, when I watch a lot of these other podcasts and stuff, they always give like, put a 1 in the chat if you think I'm right. Put a 0 in the chat if you think I'm wrong. And, what that does is it's tricking the algorithm into thinking that there's a bunch of chat going on and whatever. If you have something to say it. If you don't, I'm not going to play that silly game. At least, I don't know. I will ask for the like and subscribe. I do appreciate that. Carson Hocevar, starting 15th. Practice was 7th and 8th in the 10-lap run. The mile and a halves have been hit or miss with Carson so far this year. Out of the 5 tracks we're comparing to, no wins, 1 top 5, 2 top 10s, 3 top 20s, a 13.8 average running position, and a 37.9 Draftkings average. He's never been to Chicagoland before. Other than he was like the guy that was kind of last year on the train of every time they got close to Chicago or he was close to Chicago, he was like flying drones and flying his getting flights over the speedway. He was driving up to the speedway in his car and taking video and being like, "We need to race here. We need to race here." Part of the reason for that is out of the 1.5 tracks on iRacing, which Carson does a lot of, Chicagoland is one of the more fun tracks to race on iRacing. And that's probably what brought him wanting to race here in real life. So he was a big advocate of this. He's really looking forward to doing this race. And honestly, his practice speeds actually look better than Gibbs, in my personal opinion. And usually he's all over the place. And actually, these lines are not that bad for a Carson Hocevar. Especially the second run. This second run's very consistent. No real super jagged stuff. Single entry 275 fading Hamlin, need Larson to show his speed. Yeah. Single entry 200. Is there a $275 entry today? I know there's like the what or something. Is that a? Am I misreading that? 275. I see a 444, 555, 250. That's best ball. Go to NASCAR. 777. 250. I don't see a 275. Is that a mistype or did I misread it? Either way, single entry, yeah. I mean, I don't mind the Hamlin fade in the Larson play. I mean, they're interchangeable in my opinion, and I think their ownerships are going to be probably about the same. I mean, there is a way for them to both be in the optimal lineup. That is something that can play. Probability of it is very tough. I mean, they're literally just going to have to trade lead back and forth. One of them leads for 30 laps, the next one leads for 30 laps, and they both finish 1-2. And if that ends up happening, they're both going to be in the optimal. Now, two of the most expensive drivers. So, I mean, you can make that end up working. And honestly, I'll probably end up having one of my lineups with something like that. I'm probably not going to put it. I probably won't put it in a single entry or, even a 5 max. It'll be in, like a chrome horn or the $1 or the $2 20 max type of plays. But more of my cash lineups, I'm not that's a tough sell for a cash lineup. But it's playable and it could work. So, and they're probably the best. I mean, they're two of the favorites, at least in my opinion, looking at their speeds and everything. But Carson Hocevar, I mean, honestly, the kid's starting to come along. I could see a play here to play Carson, starting in 15th. I mean, honestly, when you really go back and look at his practice speeds, that's some of his best practice speeds that I've seen to date. And I've been looking at his practice speeds for the last that type of chart for the last year and a half, ever since I was able to get access to it. I think Carson could end up with a pretty decent day here. I'm going to put him at a 6th. He loves to run fast laps. He's probably one of the drivers that ends up screwing my 2-to-1 ratio. He's almost a 1-for-1, if not maybe even a 2-for-1 on the other side, where he'll have for every lap led, he would have 2 fast laps. He's a bull in a china shop, and he will just flat run it out. Now, the problem is he's going to really need to be a little bit on the cautious side because his tire wear is for real. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have him a 15th, get to 6th, have 12 fast laps, and have 8 laps led. I know it sounds crazy, but that's that's kind of where I'm falling with him. I'm gonna lock that in, and we're gonna move on to Chris Buescher. The RFK guys, they showed up, and they're pretty good. Now, this Chicagoland was one of Brad Keselowski's better tracks before they moved it from the schedule. So RFK showing up with speed is not overly surprising. Chris Buescher, 1.5 miles, not surprising. Look at his last 5 that we're comparing to. All 4 of the 5, he's finished in the top 10. Once now, I mean, that's pretty consistent. It's kind of like William Byron, just consistently going to fire off a top 10. The problem is we have 8 drivers that are going to finish in the top 10. Yeah, there's 10 spots. So can all 8 of them actually do it? That's if you can pull that off, you need to go do a huge parlay on Draftkings or FanDuel or BetMGM or whatever your favorite betting site is, and put that 8-leg parlay together for all of them to finish in the top 10. I'm not even sure what that would equate to, but it would be a heck of a payday if you could hit 8 of 10 drivers in the top 10. If these videos weren't so long already, I would pull it out and actually look to see what an 8-leg top 10 parlay would be with Buescher and Byron and Elliott and those guys. But starting in 3rd, practiced in 8th and 14th and 10 lap, really consistent in these style tracks. He's been here before. He finished 18th. That might be his best finish. Actually, it is his only top 20. He was 18th the last time they ran here. So his past history here has not been great. And honestly, I don't even know who Buescher was racing with in 2019. It may have been RFK. But if you have to remember, back in 2019, RFK was a complete mess. So the past data is a little tough. Looking at his practice data, the first couple laps were a mess. Okay, not a bad deal. Comes in. Here's his second run. Much better. Much more level. I like that. This one's okay. It's not as long. It's 46 to 53, so this run's pretty consistent. That's a good solid line right there. Starting in 3rd, if you're looking for a sleeper that's starting in the top 5, Chris Buescher's not a bad sleeper to potentially take. And I think he's consistent enough to just go and stay there all day. Finishing 4th. Probably not lead a whole lot of laps. We'll give him, 3, not have a ton of fast laps. We'll give him 2. But I could easily see him just being there all day. Daniel is asking, what is your projected top 6 drivers to win the race? It's very chalky. Denny Hamlin, probably 1st. Larson would be 2nd. After that, it gets a little bit wonky. Those are my 2 chalk drivers to win the race. After that, it becomes I don't have a solid pick behind that. I can easily make arguments for Reddick, Byron, Bell, Elliott, and even a Buescher. I don't think a Ford ends up winning this. I think this is a Denny or a Larson to win. Outside shots are Byron, Elliott, Bell, Reddick. Bubba's starting in 8th. He was fast in practice, so maybe a Bubba Wallace. He's good at the 1.5 miles. So, yeah. Buescher, I'm just going to I think he just is going to be there. His pit crew has been a little hit or miss. That could cost him, so I could see where you fade him a little bit. I'm honestly, if anything, I'll probably fade off a little bit of Buescher, I'll probably run him somewhere between 10 and 15%. But I'm not saying it's a complete fade. The problem is, even if he goes and finishes in fourth, for it to pay off, I mean, he's going to need to lead 40 laps and have, I mean, even with 40 laps led and 20 fast laps, and if he finishes in fourth, it doesn't take him. Now, he's not going to need to get to 60. He's going to need to get to 55 points to be in the optimal range. I mean, so, yeah, I just don't know if Buescher goes out and does that type of a day. I can't remember what I had him at. 8 and 4. Sure, we'll leave it there. But I could easily see Buescher for a top 5. He's very consistent at this style track. Bubba Wallace, I think, is an outside shot to win. His practice speeds were great. He's starting in 8th. He was first in single lap. He was 5th in 5-lap consecutive average. If we're looking at track comparisons over the last 5 similar style tracks, 3 top 10s, 1 top 5, 3 top 20s. He finished 25th here at Chicagoland when they were here last. 2 starts with an average finish of 24th. So, I mean, it's also back when he was racing for Richard Petty. So completely different car and setup and everything else. And once again, I mean, we've been looking at Bubba Wallace's speeds the entire time. His second run was extremely good. I could easily make a call for Bubba Wallace to easily have a top 5, top 10, maybe even get the win. He needs a really good points day. He needs to turn the ship around. He had a really good points day at San Diego, had an okay day at Sonoma. He needs to have another really good day to really get himself solidly back into the chase and be in a safe spot. So, when the AI average has him at 16th, I don't think that's the case. I'm going to put him as a 5th. He's easily fast enough to get up there and lead some laps. The question is, Denny or Larson, in my opinion, are going to have a problem or get off cycle. So, but I have no problem with an 8th to 5th with 5 laps led, 2 fast laps, and we'll lock him in there. I'd have no problem with the Bubba Wallace call. I think it's also one of those. At 8,500, you could end up playing a Hamlin, Elliott, and a Bubba, and I think you still have a little bit of decent salary cap left to still continue. But let's get next in line. And as everybody who has watched this channel before knows, my favorite driver in the entire world is Joey Logano. No, it's not. I'm kidding. He's probably my least favorite driver. Other than maybe Cody Ware, because Cody Ware cost me a load of money earlier this year. A lot of money. Like thousands of dollars. So Cody Ware's dead to me at this point. And Joey Logano, I just don't expect anything from him, so I don't expect anything for him to do well. And I'm not expecting anything this week either. $8,200 starting 31st. His practice speeds were 33rd and 30th. And if we look at the 5.5-mile track so far this year for Joey Logano, Penske, and Ford, 1 top 10, 2 top 20s, a 24.6 average running position. Yep. Now, the last time he was here, 6-7 years ago, 3rd place finish. That's when he actually could race on 1.5 miles. And Penske would give him a car that would run on 1.5 miles. Not saying Joey can't do that still, but I know I'm being a little harsh, a little bit mean. So if there's any Joey fans out there, I apologize. I try to hold my biases back, but I really just don't like him. 11.5 average finish prior. Let's look at his practice speeds. Let's see what bad really looks like. I mean, at least the line's fairly flat until we get to his last run, and it gets really wonky. His car has absolutely been bad over the bumps. Visibly bad over the bumps. I didn't see that with Cindric or Blaney, so maybe they make an adjustment to the car. If not, Joey Logano is going to finish where he starts in 30th. I think he's going to... The problem is, I think a lot of people have kind of caught on that he's not good at these mile and a half this year. I'm going to leave it as a 25th, and I'm not putting a lead lap in, and I'm not putting any fast laps. And I'm going to lock him in at 24 points. I will still end up having probably a 10% ownership stake, maybe 15% ownership stake, but I'm absolutely a fade on Joey Logano. I just don't think it gets any better. So I can see the argument of putting him in. It's a ton of place differential. I mean, for him to get there, if he gets a 10th, he's at 55 points. He's there. So top 10 puts him there without leading a lap and not having a fast lap. I absolutely could see Joey Logano is talented enough to make to a top 10. Can his car get in there? Can his pit crew get in there? Can all those things get in there? Maybe. His practice speeds tell me otherwise. So, am I a complete fade on Joey Logano? Absolutely not. But I'm going to be underweight on the field. So I'll lock him in with a 20th. Brad Kozlowski. Oh, Brad. Big bad Brad. Like I said, Brad's really good here. His history it might be one of his best tracks. He's starting in 4th. His practice speeds were 12th and 21st. All the RFK guys showed up with speed, which makes me think Brad still had some really good notes on what he thought and would expect from Chicagoland. His last race here, he finished 5th. He's got 2 wins here at Chicago. Out of the 11 starts, he has 10 of 11 in the top 20, 9 of the 11 in the top 10, and almost half in the top 5. An 8.8 average finish. Said this is one of Brad's favorite tracks. But he's starting in 4th. So is Briscoe. But Buescher. Like I said, RFK came to play. I could easily make a case for Brad to get a win here. He's super good at Darlington. High tire wear. Rip the top. He doesn't rip it quite as well as Larson and Reddick do, but he knows and understands how to maintain and control his tires. The problem I have here is once he falls off, it falls off a cliff. That's the concerning part. His short run speed is great. His long run speed, I see trouble. Did Buescher have that same issue with his long run speed? No, Buescher's long run speed was not near as bad as Brad's. So that really concerns me for long run speed, because that's one of Brad's usually keys is he's got typically decent long run speed. Not great, but decent, but he can go really long. He can typically go 5 to 8 laps longer on a green flag run than a lot of other drivers, even with fuel. Just because he's able to maintain and save his tires. That's a concern to me. And that's enough concern that makes me go, okay, I was going to run him probably maybe in 10% of my lineups. I'm probably going to be in single digits at this point. It's going to be like a couple of one-offs here and there where I just go, okay, I don't love the Denny Larson pick at all, and I'm just going to pick nothing but the middle of the pack here, and I'm going to say Brad's going to end up winning. But after seeing that, I'm just going to go to his average of 8th. I don't think he leads any many laps. I'll give him like 4 and 2 in case he does have one of those long run runs and he's able to lead a few laps while everybody else is pitted, I'm just going to lock it in there. I honestly think this is going to be probably closer to a 13th, 14th, 15th, but his average here is really good. So I'm not going to slouch on that. And like I said, I'm probably not going to run a whole lot. All right, next in line here, Ross Chastain. Can Trackhouse actually end up doing something on ovals? Other than the every once in a while SVG does well. Because Ross has really struggled so far this year on the ovals and pretty much everywhere. It's been a little bit of a mystery because Ross, even for Denny Hamlin's like, I don't know what's going on, but that's not pretty over there. Between Connor Zillage, Ross Chastain, SVG on the ovals, I think probably has the better average running position and finishing position of Trackhouse, and that's not good. Ross, this is in Ross's wheelhouse right here. It's not this year. They just are struggling on speed. 2 top 20s, 24th place average running position. We look at his practice speeds. He's here in the yellow. He's all over the board. It's not looking good. It's going to take a major strategy call for Ross to end up getting up there. I like his starting spot. There's some potential of place differential. Maybe we give him a 15th. I don't think he leads any laps. Maybe he ends up with one fast lap. I'll give him the token 1. I'm going to lock him in for a 15th, and I think that's honestly being slightly generous. Daniel Suarez, quietly having a career year, solidly in the chase playoffs at this point, just putting together really good finishes. He's got the win at Charlotte earlier this year, and that was not a fluke. He was consistently in the top 10, top 5 all day long, and when the rain came, he was in the right spot. Now, I think if the rain had waited one more lap, or the timing and scoring had happened a little different, I think Denny ends up beating him. But starting in 26, now his practice speeds were right there, 24th and 26th. His averages so far at these mile and a halfs, he's got the 1 win at Charlotte, 3 top 10s, 5 top 20s. Starting in 26, he's got a 10.2 average running position, and we're not going to worry about what he did in the past, but it just shows where he was. He was 24th the last time they ran here, 3 total starts with an average finish of 15.7. So it's still top 20 finishing position starting in 26. Practice speeds were, they're not fast. On the first run, I'm not seeing anything overly dramatic. Second run, it's okay. Third run actually was a little wonky. I don't know if he was doing pit road speed runs, trying to figure out an entry. I don't like his third run. His first run actually is better. It's just slow. But I'm not seeing any real major handling characteristic issues on that run. This has him as a 10th. I'm going to back that off a little bit and go to like a 13th. Don't think we lead any laps. Maybe he ends up having a fast lap here or there. But I'm going to go from a 26th to a 13th. I like the Daniel Suarez play today. I think it's going to be a little on the chalky side, so be careful a little bit on that. So I'm going to lock him in at 44.5. All right, our part-time Cup driver who got a win earlier this year, 2 weeks ago at San Diego, Corey Heim, $7,500, starting 28th. He really just did not qualify well. I missed what happened there. But his practice speeds were 4th and 4th. We're looking at a mile and a half experience. He's only got 2 races or 3 races. He's got, I can't remember how many races he's got a mile and a half this year. I need to put that into the algorithm, into the formula, because I know he hasn't run all these. Where was it that he ran so well and led a bunch of laps and then ended up having a tire issue. Is that Darlington? I don't think it was Dover. I can't remember. Usually I'm pretty good about that. Sorry, I meant Trom says, sorry, I meant 275. Oh, 275 contestants, but in the 121. Okay, yeah, gotcha. I do like that one. I've just been burned the last 3 weeks on it. So I backed off on that one. I do really, really like the odds on that. But yeah, I like the call of fading Hamlin and going to Larson. And like I said, I could see the argument for either one or even both. And I think both would be really, really unique. I'm not sure I have enough guts to run that in the 121 single entry, though. That's much more you want to be chalk. And the chalk's going to be either Larson or Hamlin. But I really like the Corey Heim play starting in 28th. Man, the kid has been fast. He's fast in practice. Let's look at the second run. Got a little bit of wonky towards the end. His third run, he definitely comes out and fires off fast, but drops off pretty fast. Little bit wonky, but starting in 28th, I mean, this might be the place differential play of the day, but it's going to be chalky. It's going to be chalky. Corey Heim, 28th, I think it's a good solid, 12th. I mean, he could easily run long, and because he's not racing for points, he's racing for wins or experience. He's got the win, and he probably, once you've got that taste in your mouth, you want it back, and I think he potentially leads a few laps. I really, really like the Corey Heim play today, but it's going to end up being chalky. That's the problem. And that ends up probably being a decent cash play, which would probably be decent in the 121. Yeah, I mean, you take a Hamlin or a Larson, and you take maybe a Hocevar and a Corey Heim. I mean, there's three decent plays, and you still got plenty of money. You could probably easily play the Suarez. I mean, you might be able to fit a Blaney. So yeah, you could interswap Hamlin, Reddick, Larson, and Blaney for those chalks spots, and just run with two. All right, Alex Bowman. Will Alex Bowman be back in the 48 next year? I think he's going to have one more year, and they're going to get Corey Day ready for that 48 ride. I think Alex Bowman is actually probably okay with that. I think he realizes his health potentially, this is not the best fit for his health. And listening to, he had an interview or had an open line press conference earlier this week. And I think he seems to be at peace with the potential of the Cup Series may not be for him. Maybe he goes and runs a part-time schedule in the O'Reilly truck. I mean, the trucks are not near as demanding, and it would still keep him racing. I think he makes a deal with Hendrick and says, hey, I want to run in one more year. Let Corey Day continue to progress in the bottom series. Let me get another year, and I'll move. We'll swap seats. I'll go to the O'Reilly 17 car, and he can have my ride or something like that. I don't know. I've never been the biggest Alex Bowman fan, but I've never disliked him. He's just kind of been there for me. So 7,300 starting in 12th. He was 23rd in single lap, 22nd in 10 lap. Over the last, the problem is I think he missed quite a few of these races. I want to say all three of the races that he actually did, he finished in the top 20. with a 12.7 average running position. Yeah, Daniel, he's just vanilla. He's just, yeah, it's palatable. You're waiting for Zane talk. Oh lordy, got a few more spots. We got a few more. We'll get there. I'll hurry along. I know I'm almost at 2 hours. Like I said, the longest podcast out there for DraftKings content for 1 week of racing. Good Lord, Mark, what am I doing? I mean, his practice speeds were, I mean, they're not jagged. They're not over, but they're not fast either. So, does Alex Bowman end up having a decent long run car? Maybe. I think he finishes where he starts. I think he finishes 13th. Yeah, well, there. The average says 13. 2 fast laps. I'm only going to give him 1. It's a token. I'm going to lock him in at a 30.5. But it's going to be a nothing burger. I'm not even sure I'd throw him into 5% of my lineups. It's not because I want to fade him. It's not because I think it's anything bad. I just don't think it's not gonna do anything for DraftKings. It's just it's plain old vanilla, which is fine. It fills you up. Vanilla ice cream's good, but at least put a little chocolate syrup or some sprinkles or something on it, and nothing. Eric Jones. Eric Jones needs to get back on the horse after a tough road course stint. He was on. Man, was he on a roll before they took to the road courses. And honestly, they may have picked up a virus or something because they are slow again. 22nd on qualifying. He was qualifying top 5 and top 10 before they went to the road courses. Now he's qualified in 22nd again. He was 35th and 31st in practice. That's not good. He has raced here before. He's got a 15.3 average finish over 3 starts. Okay, that's all good. Well, there's a problem. Oh, he's gonna have to go to the rear. I do remember this now. Eric Jones, they hit something somewhere, and they're having to replace the underbody of that car. That's exactly what happened. I remember now. Yeah, I have not looked, but when they said they were going to have to replace the undercarriage of that car, that's an unapproved adjustment. He's going to have to go to the rear. So starting 22nd, he's going to have to go to 37th because Michael McDowell is stuck being last, and will have the drive-through penalty. But Eric Jones will have this 22nd starting spot and have to start probably out back. Double check with like a Bob Pockrass or Jeff Gluck or somebody like that, or go to J-Ski and see. I'll go to J-Ski right now and see if they have anybody to the rear yet. Let's see. Not seeing anything there. Let's look down here a little bit. Pre-race inspection, qualifying, consecutive laps. I'm not seeing anything yet of drivers to the rear. Usually that's not until about 2 to 3 hours before the race. Whenever they have to go back through, if they make adjustments, they have to go back through inspection. Multiple drivers locked up their brakes during pit road entries during the session. 43, Eric Jones' car suffered underneath damage during practice, but the team is uncertain what caused it. Doesn't say anything about going to the rear yet. So definitely check. Nick says, Bubba Wallace for the dub today. I don't mind that call. Yeah, it's an outside shot, definitely. But he's good at these mile-and-a-half tracks. He's good at Kansas. Kansas and Chicago are extremely similar, and the way they race and the way they, all of it. So yeah, I don't mind the Bubba Wallace call for. I mean, heck, even bet him for a top 5 or top 3. I mean, what is he on DraftKings for a win? Let's see. Bubba Wallace is 1,500 or 15 to 1 to win. Top 3 is 425. Top 5 is 190. So here, while I'm here, I'll oh, top 10s. So what did I say earlier? Bell, we put Bubba in there. Briscoe, Byron, Busher, Elliott. That's 6. That's 35 to 1. So $10 would win you 360 for if all 6 of those hit the top 10. So there we go. That's your betting update for the day. So yeah, that's going to be those practice laps. That's why he was so slow. And never did any more practice. And he's probably going to have to go to the rear. So I'm probably going to be a fade on Eric Jones. That's too much of an uphill climb, and this track is super dominant. The track position dominant. So they would have to throw a lot of crazy stuff to make it back up front. Not saying it won't happen, but I don't like the odds of it. Especially if they can't quite get everything fully fixed, like they would at the shop. So I'm going to lock him in at a total of 8 points. Austin Cindric was really good in practice, at least for the laps that we're showing. We'll look at the chart here in a second. And he's actually not bad. He's top 20 consistent at these 5 races we're comparing to. 17.8 average running position. Let's look at those practice speeds. The first run was not good. The second run is better, but short. 15 laps to 28 laps. So, what is that? 13 lap run. Then, I mean, this one's just a much steeper decline, but at least it's level. Starting in 23rd, I mean, I don't mind taking some shots on Austin Cindric. I'd rather take shots on Austin Cindric than I would Joe Logano. And at least the practice speeds are fast. They drop off like a rock. But you could say the same thing about what Bubba Wallace's do. I mean, they're about the same angle, a fall off. So starting 23rd, I think, Austin Cindric gets himself up into like a 14th, 15th place finish. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, the AI average has an 18th. I'll give him 16th. 1 fast lap, no laps led, 35 points. Lock it in. All right. Last week's winner, Shane Van Gisbergen. Shane needs to, I think, what did they say? Just get top 20s for most of these races and get an occasional top 15 or top 10. And he could potentially hold on to his chase spot. Oops, sorry about that. He's starting in 30th. His practice speeds were 25th and 20th. Out of the 5 races we're comparing to, he's got 3 top 20s. Of course, he did not run here in 2019 because he was racing road courses over in New Zealand and Australia. He's just slow. Not great. Starting in 30th, though, I mean, the problem is I could easily see Shane and Joe Logano wrecking each other on lap 3 and it being over and done. This says a 23rd. I don't mind having the 23rd spot. I don't think we have any laps led. But I mean, I'm going to run him. I just don't. There's nothing here that makes me go, ooh, this is like the Corey Heim play stands out as almost an absolute. The Daniel Suarez, that's a decent play. The SVG, don't love it. it could pop. It could also just be an absolute garbage fire. So, yeah, I'm going to hold off on that one. Brian Priest. So, is Gibbs long run speed worth playing him in DFS? Let's go back up to him real quick and look, because if not, I'll forget. So while I've got you here, Gibbs long run speed. He is in the. Oops, hold on. Like something wrong there. All right. No, it's not. I mean, I think this actually was. Where did I put him? I think I actually ended up dropping him off a cliff. Yeah, I mean, he was my first driver outside the top 15. I'm not playing him. That doesn't mean he can't end up having a good day. So buyer beware. I'm probably not going to play him a whole lot. I don't like his practice speeds. I don't think his long run speed looks good. It's very inconsistent. So, yeah. That's where I'm at with it. Unless you can find something else in the data that says something different, then yeah, go for it. But his practice speeds in the long run did not look good. But crew chiefs make crew chief stuff. They make changes. We also practiced during the heat of the day. They're going to be racing at night. So there's lots of variables that are going to end up changing. So the practice doesn't tell us the entire story. But I don't think what I'm seeing, I don't see him being faster than Larson or Hamlin. And he's starting in 5th. So Ryan Preece starting in 20th. He was 19th and 12th. So not quite as fast as his partners over there at RFK. But in the 5 races we're comparing to, he does have 4 top 20s, no top 10s, starting in 20th. One start here, he finished 28th back in 2019. His practice speeds they're okay. I mean, slightly better than average. Then they're a little worse than average. Yeah, I mean, I think I like a 13th, 14th, 15th place finish. What does this have? 16th. I'm fine with 16th. 1 fast lap, 32.5. Lock it in. All right, everybody's the crowd's favorite, Zane Smith. And this is the spot that always drives me crazy with Zane. And this is where you guys love Zane to start. 16th. Because he's going to get overlooked. He's going to just get overlooked. He's not going to have a whole lot of ownership because he's starting in 16th. It's really not a great place differential play. It's, yeah. His practice speeds were 13th and 9th. It's good. 5 races that we're comparing to, a little inconsistent. 20th place average running position, 1 top 10, 2 top 20s. Let's look at the practice speeds. That'll be a little bit of an indication. First run kind of falls off, but then levels out. A couple of spikes there, not bad. Second run, little. The third run, little. It's not great. It's not bad. I've seen worse out there. Let's see what the computer says here. It says 20th. I think he gets better. I think he gets to 11th. How about that? I don't think he. Now, see, the front row guys, one of them will do really well. And one of them will end up leading laps. And one of them will be running in the top 5 most of the day. Is that going to be Zane? Is that going to be Gilliland? I don't think it's going to be Noah. I think, honestly, Noah's going to end up going to the 8 or the 33 car over at Richard Childress next year. I'll give him the 1 fast lap. I'll give him an 11th place finish. It puts him in the hunt. We'll lock that score down and we'll continue on. But yeah, it's and this is the spot that always gets me with Zane. I just go, it's just not quite enough for a place differential. But, let's say Zane does go and get a 6th place finish. It takes him to a 48.5. I mean, it's pretty close. He gets to 5th, and he's in optimal range. It's actually a great sneaky play again. Zane ends up being just the driver that gets overlooked. Yeah, I mean, between him and the next guy, Bradley Herbst, I mean, we've seen Bradley 2 out of 4 optimal lineups, a mile and a half this year. So Bradley Herbst also, and I hate this picture. It doesn't look anything like him. It just doesn't. It doesn't look like him. But 10th in single lap. Jigga Josh says he really likes Ricky Stenhouse. Sneaky play today. All right. Well, we got a couple more spots. We'll be at Ricky here in a second. Starting 18th, 10th in single lap, 27th in 5 lap consecutive average. 2 top 20s, a 20.8 average running position. I mean, this other one must have been huge place differential days. Practice speeds are they're a little wonky. They almost remind me a little bit of. I mean, that's the whole thing. Ty Gibbs' practice speeds look as bad as Bradley Herbst, and Ty Gibbs is starting 5th. Now, I think Ty Gibbs is a better driver than Bradley Herbst, and he's starting way further up. I could see a sneaky play with Riley. But I'm going to kind of lock it in for a 20th here, go to one fast lap, and lock it in. I still like Zane I think Zane's a good sneaky spot. Connor Zilic, oh my God. Had the pole yesterday, led the first 45 laps of the race in the O'Reilly race, and then fuel pump goes bad. And then gets mired in traffic, and then it's just a bad day all the way around. This kid has had the absolute worst luck of worst luck imaginable. Starting in 21st, he was 29th and 24th in practice. I mean, this is just awful. 2 top 20s. It's just been a bad year. And this is what I'm talking about wonky speeds that just scare me about trying to play somebody. This is just a mishandling and also inexperienced driver. Both of them. I mean, he's all over the board. He's not even close to the average. I am absolutely just I'm on a hold pattern with Connor Zilic until things improve. And if it burns me for a week or two, it burns me for a week or two. But this is just all over the place. And the problem is Trackhouse just isn't good at these tracks. I would put Trackhouse actually one spot worse than Penske at this point. Nick Shire says John Hunter Nemechek for top 10 today. All right, we got a couple spots. But Ricky Stenhouse, Jigga Josh, pick of the week for being sneaky, starting in 24th. I mean, that's a pretty good sneaky spot for Ricky, actually. Usually the time Ricky starts getting ownerships when he's starting like 32nd or 33rd. And he actually had a pretty little decent West Coast road course swing. But his practice speed's 36th and 35th. We'll have to look at that. That makes me a little nervous. In the last 5 races, we're comparing two top 20s, a 22nd place average running position. He did finish 12th here in 2019. Let's look at those practice speeds. Let's see if we see anything in here. Slow and jagged. Still slow and jagged and slow. All right, Jigga Josh, you're going to be on your own on the sneaky pick for Ricky Stenhouse. I think that's about as best to see finishes. Just my personal opinion, but yeah, I mean, this has got him finishing in 22nd. That's fine. I'm fine with that. It probably is going to end up being 28th or 29th. He probably ends up a lap down. Michael McDowell, starting 38th. He did not even qualify. I don't know what they did to this car, but the last time I heard, it still had not passed inspection. It passed pre-practice inspection, but then didn't pass pre-qualify inspection. I don't know what they did to the car to not go from like where he was okay to practice, but then he wasn't okay to qualify. I mean, I know that there were 2 different days, but how do you do that? They really did something bad. I mean, because last time I checked, he still had not passed inspection. So he may have a race, but if he does race, he's got to start in 38th. He's got to do a drive-through. Now, his practice speeds are good. Well, they're okay. He has his 1 spike here. And then to kind of come through here, it's about average. But when you're starting 38th, the thing is, I mean, he'll more than likely get back on the lead lap. And this is where it's so difficult to ever. It is such a coin flip taking the guy that's starting shotgun on the field. At least for the first little bit, he's probably not going to get caught up in the first wreck. The question is, does he go a lap down? Probably. After that, how soon does the caution come out before somebody else gets lapped, and is he able to get his lap back? Because my guess is like a JJ Yaley or Cody Ware probably go a lap down by lap 20 or 25. But if there's no caution before then, it's not like we have a short stage 1. We have an 80 lap stage 1. Jigga Josh says, and another thing, Mark, I don't know if y'all know this, but Draftkings has a free contest if anyone is interested. Yes, they do have a free contest. I think I actually put that entry in earlier today. So yeah, that's a great spot to throw the Ricky Stenhouse pick in. Be super wild on that. I mean, it doesn't cost you any money. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the ownership percentages on that free one look like. So that's the other reason I did it. I always like looking, that gives me data and information to see how wild and crazy somebody wants to be when there's no money, or at least no money spent. Potentially money made, but money spent. So to be honest, this Michael McDowell play, I would say 65% scares me, and 35% go, okay, I think he can get back on the lead lap. I think he can get up to a 24th place finish. But okay, so let's say he gets to 24th. That's the average without him going a lap down immediately. I don't think maybe he gets a fast lap because he'll be the only one out there by himself. So he's not having to race anybody. So maybe he gets a fast lap. But even finishing 24th, that's a 33.5. That's at best top 15. We'd have to see 4 drivers $8,000 and above, and Michael McDowell finished 24th to make it onto the board. I'll have some ownership. It more than likely is probably be underweight, but I could make more of a call for Michael McDowell to not be owned than to be owned. So, I mean, how many times in the last couple of weeks have we seen, oh my gosh, this guy's starting in 38th, 37, 36 because he had a penalty or something happened during qualifying. Oh, that's chalk. And they end up wrecking. I think with Christopher Bell one week, a couple weeks ago. All right, we need to start rolling through here. AJ Allmendinger, $6,000, starting 11th. AJ's quietly been having quite a good year, but not good at mile and a halfs. 5 races, a mile and a half, 25.6. And yes, I know Darlington's a 1.33, but you get the point. 25.6 average running position, 1 top 20. Look at those practice speeds. They're not great. They're not good. They're okay. Yeah. And he's starting in 11th. That's probably at best where he finishes. I mean, this has him at 26th. I'll be a little bit nicer than that. I'll go 19th and 1 fast lap. Still not enough for me to probably run him. That's probably a full out fade for me, for AJ. Austin Dillon, starting 25th. He was 31st and 29th. Ugh, that's not good. Looking at the 5 race average, 5 races we're comparing to, 3 top 20s, okay. 20.6. And he finished 10th here the last time they ran here 7 years ago. 6 total starts, 1 top 10, 4 top 20s. I mean, he's pretty consistent at least Chicagoland 7 years ago. This 31st, 29th has me a little bit intrigued. What do we got here? First run is all over the board. Second run, more consistent. Fall off's not quite that bad. It's okay. Third one, it's a little wonky. I think it's probably like a 17th place finish. What's the computer got? 21st? I'll go with a 19th. I think he just forges his way to a 19th. But potentially, I mean, he's going to need to get closer to that 31. I'll have some ownerships in Austin Dillon, but it's not going to be a whole lot. All right, so Nick, John Hunter Nemechek call for a top 10. Let's see what we got here. $5,700 starting in 17th. He was 21st and 23rd in practice. No top 10s, no top 20s for the 5 mile and a half or close to mile and a half tracks so far this year. 23.4. Oh boy. I mean, I like your enthusiasm with the top 10 call for John Hunter, but practice speeds, he fires off fast. Clean racetrack. Then he falls off. Comes back. I mean, that's not awful. It's not great. First lap's back. It falls off again. No, hold on. What do we got going on here? Go through here. Pretty consistent. How was Nemechek at Kansas? Let's see. Pull that up pretty quick. I say that and then I can't find it. Nemechek at Kansas was he started 32nd and he finished 22nd and had 1 fast lap. The big surprise at Kansas would have been Briscoe, Hamlin, Wallace, Keselowski, Byron Elliott, Gibbs, Busher, Priest with an 11th, Cindric with a 12th. Hocevar fell back to 13th. Riley Herbst, 22nd to 14th. Corey Heim, 24th to 15th. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. There's not much there for you either. I mean, John Hunter, 32nd to 22nd, and Ricky Stenhouse from 16th to 21st. Those are the 2 call-outs that you guys had earlier. So, and I don't like his practice speeds. Yeah, they starting in 17th. I mean, that's probably at best where he finishes. I mean, this has him 23rd. I have to say I'm going to leave it there and lock it in. It can be super sneaky, and if he does pop off, it could be all right. Austin Hill, 35th. What happened with Richard Childress this week? Good Lord. Between him and Austin Dillon, they just unloaded abysmal. Starting 35th, 37th, and 36th. Look at those practice speeds. I mean, it's never better than average, but I mean, heck, you don't need to be better than average. You're god awful at this point for qualifying. I'm not sure Austin Hill's ever been here before. I'm not even sure in O'Reilly series or Xfinity or whatever it was if he's ever been here. Maybe in trucks. I mean, this is 26. I think that's probably about right. I don't think you have any fast laps. We'll give him one. 35th to 26. Yeah, we'll lock it at 25 points. But this is what I'm talking about. This is an easy example of like, oh, he's starting from the back. He's pretty good. He's racing for Richard Childress. He'll be all right. Nope. Now, he did have a good run yesterday in the O'Reilly race. So he finished top 5. Next in line here, Josh Berry, starting 34th. I mean, the one thing Josh Berry, one thing he's got going for him, he's really good with tire wear management. That's about it, though. Starting in 34th, he was 30th and 28th. I mean, at least his practice speeds were slightly better than Austin Hill. But remember, the Penske-style Fords were not good. And when we look at here, average comes in and gets tires. He's about average, slightly better. And then it just goes off the rails. And this is what I'm talking about. The balance in these Penske's is just rough right now. He's only got one top 5 out of the 5 racers you're comparing to. I really think that win last year at Vegas to start the year was just an absolute fluke. I'm going to leave this here at 27th and lock it in. I could see I'll have some Josh Berry. Like I'll probably run, if I'm running 80 lineups, I might run 10%. I might run 8 lineups with Josh Berry. In case we do have some high attrition and he's not part of it. Just like Noah Gragson, I'll probably have somewhere between 6 to 8 ownership spots of Noah Gragson. And the same thing for Austin Hill. I'll probably have 4 to 6. So 5 to 10%. But I mean, at some point, we've got to have some cheap drivers. We got to have a Noah Gragson at 5,400 or a Josh Berry at whatever, 5,500 to fit lineups. God, Todd Gilliland's super cheap. Good Lord, that may be a play right there. But let's talk about Noah Gragson, 27th and 33rd. No top 20s, a 27.2. It's just not. Oh my! This is what I'm talking about. This is a super. This car is not handling well. It is super way off balance. And this is going to be abysmal. This is terrible. Terrible essay. And Noah's not that, he's not that bad of a driver. The man says, are my projections wrong? I have Cindric with the best 5-lap, second and 10-lap. No, your projections aren't wrong. Yeah, I don't post second on the speed charts, but the problem is that after 10 laps, Cindric just falls off the face of the earth. Yeah, I've got 5th in single, 2nd in 5-lap, and he's starting 23rd. But he goes from 30.4 lap time, and that's at lap 31, to lap 42, a 31.42, well over a second off in 9 laps. I mean, he's not that far off from Bubba Wallace, who was at 30.49. So, I mean, he falls off about the same on that run. I don't know, but I don't mind the Austin Cindric play. He's starting in 23rd. What do I have him in for points? Austin Cindric. I've got him for 35.5 points. I mean, where does that put him in the rankings? 35.5. I mean, it's 15th. So he's in my core at this point. I don't know what Noah and those guys are going to do, but currently he's he's in my core. Joe Logano's just sub-core. Then my bias will kick in and I won't run him at all, and then I'll get burned by it. But yeah, Noah, this is god awful. I'm not even sure I just randomly put Noah Gragson in at this point. Those practice times are awful. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it alone at 27th place finish, and I think that's being generous. That is awful. Those practice speeds are. I don't even know what to say about it. Todd Gillen starting in 29th, he was 26th and then 37th in 5-lap average. Ugh. 2 top 20s, a 25.2. Once again, this is how do you unload with this type of speed? How are you that far off? I don't get it. What's his average? Todd Gillen 25th. And the problem is we have to run some of these guys. We have to run these cheap guys. I think it's just it's not spread the wealth, it's spread the poverty out with your lineups and just hope and wish. God, that just is that's going to be hold your nose and pick. It just smells bad. We are really in the muck and funk back here, and it stinks. We need some funk away. Somebody call Parker Retzlaff and get some funk away in here. Cole Custer, 33rd starting spot, 20th and 10th. Oh, maybe we finally have a cheap play. 33rd for Cole Custer. Average running position, 26.2. The problem is, until about 5 weeks ago, they sucked. Then all of a sudden they got better. So, I don't love the practice speeds. This one's okay. Comes in at 30.6 at 27, falls to 31.2. I mean, out of everybody so far that's back here, I don't mind the Cole Custer play. And he's probably going to be under-owned. I'm going to put him at a 20th. 1 lap led, 36.5. That may have just knocked out Austin Cindric off my top 15 board, though. Ty Dillon started in 27th. He was 34th and 32nd. No top 20s. A 29.2. A 29.5. Probably going to finish 29th. And his practice speeds were, oh, God. Yeah, they're not good either. It's literally, this back here is literally going to be just hold your nose and pick 2 guys. And hopefully they don't wreck and die. Not die, but wreck and have an even worse day. I just don't even want to look at Cody Ware. 37th starting spot, 32nd and 34th. I mean, this might actually be better than Noah Gragson. At least he did 33 laps of practice. Or 27 laps of practice. How does it have 33? Oh, it must have been, I don't even know. Yeah, 32 laps. Okay. I mean, if you're going to hold your nose back here, you might as well hold your nose for Cody Ware. He's dead to me, though. I just have absolutely no interest. JJ Yaley. I mean, we thought everybody else was bad, and JJ Yaley speeds are here. Starting 36. I don't have any interest back here. They don't ever. It never happens. Yeah. All right. So we now have our rankings. We have everything done. Kyle Larson's still top of the board at 60.3. Reddick in second. Denny Hamlin in third. Carson Osavar fourth, one of our first place differentials. Corey Haim fifth. Suarez in sixth. All right, so now we have all this locked in. I have Austin Cindric in 16th, so he's just right outside my core window with Cole Custer, Zane Smith, bringing up the rears. Other than that, I don't see any cheapos. Corey Haim, was weird. Yeah, I mean, once we get to the cheapos, it literally is just hold your nose and pick. Austin Dillon, SVG, maybe. Austin Hill, maybe. Stenhouse. But I mean, the worst of the worst is, I mean, Zilich, Eric Jones, JJ Yaley, Cody Ware, John Hunter's 34th, AJ's 33rd, Riley Herbst is 32nd. I mean, the problem with Riley Herbst, he's just starting too far up. It could be sneaky, so I don't necessarily have a problem running a couple there. All right, so then you get over here to your optimizer. We have everything locked in. You've got your projections already in here and all done. And we go, okay, who we bailing out? Are we completely excluding Connor Zilich? Okay. Eric Jones, JJ Yaley, Cody Ware, out. Not going to run them. You hit the exclude button there. John Hunter, okay. So we'll run him 0 to what, 5%? AJ Allmendinger, I'm going to completely fade him. Riley Herbst, same thing, 0 to 5%. Ty Dillon, 0 to 10%. Noah Gregson, 5%. This is, you put your minimum, so 0 means the computer doesn't have to run it, and at most run him in 5 to 10% of your lineups. Todd Gillen, we can go 15% with Todd. Josh Berry, 10. Ricky Stenhouse, we can go 15. Since a couple people called him out and like him, I just don't like his starting spot. He could get an 11th. Austin Hill will go 10%. Ty Gibbs, yeah, we go 10%. Yeah, we'll go 10% for Ty. I don't like it at all. Shane, we go up to 15% on Shane. Alex Bowman, probably 10. Austin Dillon, you can go 15%. Austin Dillon. And you could type or use this either way you like. Ryan Priest, 20th, 10%. We go 15% there. Michael McDowell, God, I'm probably going to, I'll run 15%. Ross, 5%. I don't like the Ross call at all. That could burn me. That'd be something to come back. Bad Brad. Put him in 10%. Joey Logano, my nemesis. 15%. Austin Cindric. Everybody kind of likes the Austin Cindric play. I don't mind the Austin Cindric play. We'll go 15% there. I like the Cole Custer play. I'm going to go up to 20% on Cole. Zane, we'll go with 20. Bell, it's going to be closer to 15. Go at the top here. Let's go Larson 50. Reddick 45. Hamlin 45. Osavar will go 25. I really like the Heim play. We'll go 40. Suarez, I don't mind. We'll go 25. Bubba Wallace 25. Chase Elliott 30. Busher 20. William Byron, I don't mind that call, 35. Blaney 30. Briscoe starting in 7th. 25. This is going to be a front end heavy load. All right, so then you go up here. So you've got all those put in. You've got your excludes done. You got your minimums, maximums. You said how many lineups you want to run. Is it 20? You can go up to 150. I'm going to run 20 for this variable. We can go, let's see. Let's go back and look real quick at how much money we had in the last 4 optimals: 500, 400, 100, and 2,200 at Charlotte. Now, Charlotte was a little wonky because they did finish under the rain, and it's also a longer race. So, yeah, we can go to 4890, 5,000, 50,000. Even though the last 4 have never hit the full max, put your variance up to about 40%. If you've got ownership percentages from a couple of other sites like rotor grinders and those types of things do like percentages, you could put those in here, and then you can come in here and either leverage off or on somebody. I don't have that information in here, so I don't touch it. Max number of studs, $9,000 or more that you want to play per lineup. I'm going to put 2. Minimum value 2. And I got to find out what this max manufacturer. It said it's 6. But then you hit the build lineup. This only says built 7. That's not good. Let's see. What if I order this down to 1? Did I change anything? Nope. All right. So either the variance needs to go up. Nope. Max stud and minimum stud? No. That changes things a little bit. What is it? Lower the variance. Nope. Nope. Yeah, it's just not enough cheap guys in my lineups. That went to 0. That's not good. 1, 2. Why don't I change this back to 6? All right, now we're at 15 lineups. That worked a little better. Change the variance a little bit more up. 15. $14. Yeah, I just need more. I got a couple more cheap drivers percentage-wise up. But then, so once again, you play around with it all you want. Change your percentages, change your salaries, and everything in here. And then you kind of come down here. Like right now, this has Kyle Larson at 67%. I have it set at 50, so I don't know what it's doing. And I would never run him at that. Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. I said max. Now it has Denny Hamlin at 60%, Tyler Reddick at 60%, Kyle Larson at 53%. Yeah. So then it gives you all it gives you all your lineups. And then I had this problem yesterday, so I need to check the export to the CSV. Yeah, it's doing the same thing. It's not putting in, so don't run this yet. I've got to get the AI to put in the Draftkings spot. But once you do it, it runs it. It gives you all of your percentages, ownership, and everything throughout here. I need to get the AI on that to fix that because we're still got plenty of time. But so there is that. So what is optimal core randomizer? So that locks in. That changes all my percentages back. Locks in Reddick and Hamlin. I don't want to do that. So what if we just leave everything at 0 and max, and you hit build? It builds 20 lineups. And it puts 75% Denny Hamlin, 75% Carson Hocevar, 70% Heim, Larson. Fine. So it's got a lineup with see here, it's got Hamlin and Larson. I said that's a possibility to play. Bubble Wallace, Zane Smith, JJ Yaley. Oh God. Why did you put JJ Yaley in there? Dumb computer. Daniel says, I think I'm going to go with Riley Herbst and Cole Custer. Yeah. I don't mind that at all. And then studs for the rest. Yeah. I'm fine with that. Yeah, so I need to exclude, and then run this. Built. All right, then come down here. All right, so it has Larson, Heim, Hamlin. So this has 1-2 again with Heim, Hocevar, Cindric, Cole Custer. That's actually not a bad lineup. I don't mind that lineup at all. Heim, Hamlin. Yeah, the problem is we're 80% Cole Custer. Good God. Got to change that. And 2% Noah. Blech. Don't like that. I thought I exiled. No, did I not exile? I did not. I mean, he's starting 32nd. There's a chance. I mean, there's a better chance. Never mind. Won't say it. Yeah, so I mean that's what it does, and I'll get it to where it puts in the Draftkings number here, and then all you do is just copy and paste and upload. So that gives you everything that you need. It's out there. It's on my website. It's free, so don't yell at me if it doesn't quite do what you want it to. I'm still working with it, but definitely give me feedback if you have an issue or problem. And also, you can always just open a new tab if you want to start a new page. But yeah, over here, you've got, if you happen to hit big, definitely come back, put yourself into the winner circle. Would love to talk you up the following week, and it'll live here. I ended up winning second place in the Chrome Horn a couple weeks ago for the All-Star race. So I put mine out there. You know, self stinks, but whatever. So then I've got my blog that I write every week. Well, my AI writes every week. I don't know why. Oh, because this is the rundown from last week. And it actually has
Wine Country.
But actually, you can listen to it also, kind of like a podcast. It's not me. It's an AI-generated voice, but
methodically worked his way to the front.
Don't have to worry about it. So
led a race high
it's out there that you can look at that.
Laps,
then, of course,
and then held off a hard-charging Chase Briscoe across the final.
Okay, good. I was going to keep talking. Then it's got all the shows from the previous week. Accidental Mineral, Door Bumper Clear, and it's just got the full breakdown of what happened. So this is going to come in and start to come in much, much handier next year, or when we start to revisit tracks. You can go back and get a quick synopsis of what happened at the track and what happened in the race. And it's a much shorter version than the full hour-and-a-half podcast that those guys put out, unlike my 2.5-hour podcast I put out today. Then you can always come over here and look at what track is best per driver. So Brad Kozlowski, his best track is Iowa. Toughest track is Coda. So he has an average finish of Iowa of 6.5. So that's there for the stat section. And then, of course, at the hope section, we've got the points leaders and all that in the standings. So there's your tour around everything. I would appreciate everyone tuning in for this marathon session on a Sunday afternoon. I'm going to go get some lunch. I'm hungry. Pope says Hamlin, Reddick, Hocevar, Heim, Cole, Riley. Yep, I'm all right with that. Yeah. Heim, Reddick, Hocevar, Hamlin, Reddick, Hocevar, Heim, Cole. Yep. Cool. I appreciate everyone tuning in. I'm going to eat some lunch. Next week, we are at Atlanta. We have another Saturday night race. I think we have a Friday night truck race, Saturday night O'Reilly race, and a Saturday night or Sunday night cup race. Weather pending. Back again, probably between 10 and 11 in the morning on Sunday. Not Saturday night. I'm not waiting till the end of the O'Reilly race and starting live then. Not doing it. So it'll be another Sunday morning race. I think we're back to back night races. Did I read that right? We've got, where are we? We've got, yeah, we're back to back 3 weeks in a row night races, because then we have North Wilkesboro night race on Sunday night. So you get me on Sunday mornings for 3 weeks in a row, And then I hit the road. I don't hit the road. I hit the skies and fly to Florida for Panama City baseball tournament for my son. So the Sunday, July 26th, Racing in the Draft will be off-site. I'll be in Florida. I still plan on doing it. I still plan on having the podcast because I'll be in Florida the entire time. And then do we have August 2nd off? Is that for the Cup race? That is for the Cup race. We have another day off? I thought we ran straight through. Wow, that's not right, is it? Summer break 400. Yeah, off week. That's not right, is it? I thought we went straight through. Hold on. That'll be phenomenal. Atlanta, North Wilkesboro. Yeah, we are off August 2nd. Yeah. I'm excited. All right. Everybody hit the like and subscribe button. I appreciate you tuning in. 379 views. Wow, that's pretty good. 36 of you guys. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you join us in Discord. Make sure you do all the things. I appreciate everyone tuning in. God, this was a long one. They always are. I always bitch about it. But I appreciate everyone sticking around for this long. Have a great weekend. Good luck. Bye.
Gentlemen, start your engines. 40 cars coming to life.
He still takes the field? Yep. Love it. Get a good deep breath. Get ready to roll here. Only about one thing tonight, getting the W's, so gotta be around the end to do that. Get ready to roll tonight, boys. Go have some fun.
Don't get me any more fired up than I already am.
All the way to the checkered. You are fine. Nobody's got to run. Checker time, baby! Really proud of you, man. Drove your butt off tonight. We had the best car here, bud. Yeah, boys. Way to rebound. Great job. Great job, bud. Really good job. Appreciate you hanging in there with us all weekend. What a weekend. Good